Hello, hello. October is ADHD Awareness Month, and so I wanted to make a video for people wanting to find out more about ADHD. So I have been diagnosed with ADHD. I was only diagnosed earlier this year, so obviously a late in life diagnosis. And my son, who is 17, was diagnosed ADHD when he was 11. So we have experience of ADHD in our family. I also worked as SEN support in a school, so met many children who were either diagnosed with ADHD or displayed traits of ADHD. I also, through Complex Connections, obviously work with parents who, many of whom have children who have ADHD, and I know a lot of adults who, like me, have been late diagnosed. I'm part of a wonderful group called Celebrate Difference. If any of you are an adult and you would like to be part of a group for support and meeting of people who are experiencing kind of similar things in their life. So yeah, ADHD Awareness Month, I think it's a brilliant idea. I think to get the word out there about ADHD is fantastic. There's so much more awareness now, but I think that we need to grab every opportunity that we can to spread the word, to tell people about ADHD, and to most of all tell people that it's not just boys who have ADHD, and it's certainly not just what is often referred to as the kind of naughty boy syndrome, where it's just looked at as a young boy who can't sit still, who's disruptive in class, whose behavior is considered naughty. It's way, way more than that. There are many girls who are missed with ADHD because the traits and the signals in girls are not well understood and therefore not recognized. So I want to tell you a little bit more about ADHD so that you can understand it more, if that's the information that you're looking for, and also tell you how Complex Connections kind of approaches it, and how the principles that we have work really well for anybody who is ADHD themselves or trying to parent a young person who is ADHD. So ADHD is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. I don't like that disorder part at all. So we call it differences instead. That's how we like to think about it. People who have differences to what neurotypical people have. And again, neurotypical covers such a wide range of people, but ADHD, there are a smaller percentage of people who are ADHD than there are who are non-ADHD. So obviously it's in the minority. ADHD focuses on the first difference that you would notice is that people with ADHD often struggle with inattention, but it's not inattention as in they can't focus on anything. It's more attention differences. So they can really focus on things that they are interested in and have some buy-in to, and find it more difficult to focus on things that are less interesting. So for me, I am easily able to focus on anything to do with brain science and psychology and teaching and learning. I would be far less able to focus on something that was completely outside my realm of interest. My husband loves watching things about motor cars, and that on the TV. I have absolutely no interest in that. So I find it really difficult to pay attention to that. And many people say, well, that's just typical of anybody. But it's those traits combined with others, which then become difficult for everyday life, which then constitutes a diagnosis for ADHD. The second thing with ADHD is after attention is hyperactivity. So hyperactivity is where somebody needs to move around a lot. They may be really fidgety. They may need movement in order to learn, or it doesn't have to be their body that needs to move, but they have racing thoughts. So this is one of the things that there's been a lot of debate over through the years, where not all girls often, but some boys as well, have that hyperactivity element. And this caused a lot of confusion, but it's become more recognized now that that hyperactivity can be reflected in a racing mind, kind of never being able to relax and think things through clearly, where your thoughts are always racing or you're needing to move on to the next thing. So that is the hyperactivity part of it. And the third part of ADHD is impulsiveness. So impulsiveness as in making decisions in the moment without possibly thinking them through carefully. Reacting impulsively to things without being able to take that moment to decide if that's the right course of action. So sometimes that can show up as spending impulsively, or blurting things out, or not being able to wait your turn in conversation, or reacting to something really quickly. There's various ways that impulsivity can show up. So those are kind of the traits associated with ADHD. There's a massive overlap in all different kinds of neurodivergences. So between autism and ADHD, so sensory processing differences, executive function differences, sometimes difficulties with social communication can show up. But as I say, there is a massive overlap with autism and ADHD, and a lot of those traits are evident in people with various kinds of neurodivergences. So that isn't limited only to ADHD. But this is why one person with ADHD can be quite different to another. And the old way of looking at things, where it was very kind of pigeonholed and very kind of stereotypical, has to be done away with. Because you get so many nuances of people with an ADHD diagnosis. For me, my ADHD shows up as quite a lot of executive function differences. I struggle with managing time. I struggle with procrastination. I can struggle with organizing things. Sometimes if things seem overwhelming, if I have a really big task to do, and it's a massive thing to kind of plan, or it feels really big for me to plan and organize, I will procrastinate and delay starting on it. I struggle to estimate how long things are going to take me. I struggle to work out how much time I've spent on something. I struggle to kind of put a time to things and stick to that. I have a lot of good intentions, and then I struggle with following through on those intentions. So I heard a really good talk last week about ADHD, instead of attention deficit, rather being thought of as intention deficit. And I thought that was brilliant. There's such a gap often between the intention and the action, and that I certainly can resonate with that. So yeah, that's a lot of the ways that ADHD shows up for me. But there's also things like sometimes some kind of social anxieties, other kinds of anxieties. I think things that are created over time as well. When you have certain struggles and you mask those and you don't show those to people around you for a very long time, there are other things that can be created because of that neurodivergence. At Complex Connections, we focus on 3 pillars, so understanding, communication, and connection. Understanding is becoming more informed, better understanding individuals, looking at their strengths as well as their struggles, not just deficits and disorders, but the things that they are really good at, the things that they manage really well, and that are enhanced because of their neurodivergence. So we also want, as much as we want to enhance those struggles and enhance those strengths and celebrate those strengths, we also want to be really aware of and better understand the struggles. We don't want to minimize them. We want to acknowledge them. The more we understand them, the better informed we are, the more we're able then to address them. So becoming informed, and as a parent, the way that we support parents is to help them to better understand their young person. If they understand the difficulties that they have, it means that they'll have a different perspective on them, and that means that they're then able to support their young person better. The second principle that we have is communication. And communication means that you change your communication because your perspective has been altered. You are able then to communicate in a much more empowering way, be that with yourself or be that with your young person. You are able to reframe things and think about them differently and communicate them differently. So communication is a really, really powerful tool when it's used in a positive way. And again, I think what I've definitely come across with people with any kind of neurodivergence is they often have a very, very critical inner voice, which kind of hinders them in lots of ways. So it's changing that around and making that much more positive and much more empowering. And when you are the parent of a child with ADHD, you can begin to be that more positive voice, that communicator that empowers your child, advocates for your child, the one that helps your child to begin to recognize their strengths, the one that begins to help them to advocate for their struggles and to tell other people how they're feeling, to recognize emotions, to talk about those emotions. That's all to do with communication. Also linked into communication is a lot about trust, building that mutual trust between the parent and the child. And what that understanding and communication does is that builds stronger connections, and that is what we're all about. It is making that really strong relationship between the parent and the child built on deeper understanding, more empowering communication, and that creates that stronger connection. And then going forward, because there is that stronger connection, the parent is able to support the child with the challenges. And both for the child and the parent, those challenges are just simpler to navigate. So that the connection doesn't wave a magic wand and take away the challenges. The child is still going to experience those. But because there is that strong connection, because connection brings about acceptance and belonging, that gives the child that really strong foundation, builds their self-esteem, builds their confidence, and they are then more able to kind of go out and use that in order to address their challenges. So I hope that's been helpful. Any questions that you have about ADHD in this month, I hope that, well, I'll definitely be coming back on video to talk more about it. So watch out for some more videos. Any questions, message me at Complex Connections. Take care. Bye for now.